Not sure about you, but when I go on long distance hikes, I like to listen to things when the day starts to feel a little bit monotonous. You know what I mean. I'm talking mainly about audiobooks for myself, but also about podcasts. It's the stories that I like to hear whenever I'm out there hiking. Something that, ignites the imagination or the thrill-seeking side or even the macabre-loving side of my brain. Because we all know that hiking can be a bit repetitive, even for nature lovers like you and me. It's April now. The 2026 hiking season is in full swing. During the tail end of winter, and while you prepare for your hike or hikes this season, Basecamp and I wanted to showcase conversations with some of the cottage brands that we use and support, such as Bowl and Kettle, which was episode 80, 2 episodes ago, or 2 others coming up, Farm to Summit and Aardwolf gear. We love these types of chats with our friends and gear companies, but we also love a good old-fashioned story, and that's what you're going to get here today. I'm one of your hosts, Yeti Legs, and you're listening to Yeti Walks into Basecamp, talking through hiking, a podcast for thru hikers, backpackers, hikers, tree huggers, and really anyone who just loves to walk outside. In today's episode, we're telling stories. Hiking stories about mudslides in South America, a bee that almost killed if it weren't for an expired EpiPen, and even some of the coldest moments our friends have experienced while in the backcountry. Sit back and listen, or zone out while you're walking that trail, to our first Trail Tells episode. We hope you enjoy. What's going on? Hi.
Hey, Tram fam.
Hey, Tram family, bamily.
Family.
People.
We're your hosts. I'm Basecamp.
I'm Yeti Legs. Welcome to the podcast.
This is Yeti.
Yeti walks into Basecamp.
I'm really just shaking it up over here.
Talking.
Thru.
Hiking.
Yes.
We're glad you're here.
Yes.
It is a new episode type, actually.
Yeah, we're trying new things,
We're trying new things. We are basically going to be reading off listener stories that folks have taken the time to type up or even dictate, but send to us via email so that we can read off to y'all. So this requires very little brain power for us today. So we're just going to read you some stories and we'll introduce commentary. And if there's something that we think could have been done differently, we'll say that. Or if we'll say, they did the right thing, then that's what happens.
We'll just share our opinion too in the middle of it.
Yeah. Also, Marie's, we're on month 4?
I'm at 16 weeks. So, but when this comes out, I will be at, oh boy, where will I be?
You'll be there.
I'll be past 20 weeks for sure.
You'll be out there.
So I'll be rotund, but the belly's showing.
The belly's showing.
And baby's doing good. Baby's healthy.
Yeah.
We're having a boy.
Yeah, we're going to name him Monty.
Monty James, which means the one who takes the mountain.
Kind of like that.
Well, I do too.
Yeah.
It just feels very fitting.
I think so.
Yeah. So that's kind of the name we have settled on at this point, unless I wake up with a nightmare going, no.
Yeah. So we're just going to read these stories. We hope you enjoy. To everyone who took the time to send these to us, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is a huge thanks to you. And we're dedicating this episode to all of you.
And yes, and we will do more of these. We're calling them Trail Tells.
Yeah, Trail Tells, like TELLS.
Trail Tells.
Because Trail Tales has been taken.
Yeah, so Trail Tells.
The Trail Tells.
And so if you have a story, that you would want to share on the podcast, we would love for you to send it into our email.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to do more of these as we continue on.
Yeah. The last 2 episodes were interviews with Bowl and Kettle and Ken Posner. We hope you really appreciated those. And we've got some more really fun stuff coming up for y'all the rest of this year.
Yeah, we've got a lineup.
I know.
Pretty wild.
We have episodes coming out in advance.
We'll see how it goes in August once the baby comes.
I know.
Maybe we should just pile up all these episodes, and then that way it doesn't affect any of you.
Because we'll be sleep deprived.
We'll be figuring out how to hike with a baby.
Oh my God.
That'll be stories.
That'll be something, won't it?
Yeah. I'm curious if anyone would be interested in hearing how we're going to backpack. And I mean, we are going to attempt to thru hike at some point with our kid. So that is definitely on the bucket list for us at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys are interested in more of those stories, once we get into that world, we'd love to share.
We shall. But for now, we're going to share stories, and I'm starting with the best mudslide ever. And this is from Audio's Adventure Travel, and I'll have their website posted in the show notes. But this is a story following Jackie Witt and Vidal Hakewa. I pronounced that right because they put the pronunciation in parentheses.
Thanks.
So thank you. All right. It was April, and Jackie and Vidal, the co-founders of Audio's Adventure Travel, had organized a week-long trip to Peru for a private group of families whose members ranged from kids as young as 6 to a gutsy grandmother aged 68. One of the highlights of the trip was a visit to the famous Inca ruins of Machu Picchu. Most people take the train or hike the Inca Trail to get to the ancient citadel. But in this case, this group was following the backdoor route to Machu Picchu. We drove through the sacred valley, then ascended a 2-lane paved road up to a 14,000-foot pass over Abra Malaga, and descended several more hours on rough dirt roads to a small village in the high jungle called Santa Teresa. The climate is temperate and humid, and the altitude is only 5,085 feet or so. This is the perfect place for growing coffee and fruit. Once I became aware that a distinctive earthy aroma I kept noticing was the smell of roasting coffee beans, I was in love with this small community. If you drive the narrow dirt roads through the forest, you see giant bags of just picked coffee beans ready to be picked up. If you peer into the shadows of the tree canopy, you may see groups of local women harvesting beans. It's a magical place with just enough infrastructure for nature-loving travelers who don't mind going without amenities. It's also the home of a local hot springs full of natural minerals to rejuvenate your body. Then there's a short hike to nearby waterfalls. Or enjoy the zip line or river rafting if you want man-made fun. For Santa Teresa, it's a short 8-mile or 3-hour hike along a flat trail to the village of Aguas Calientes, which is the gateway town to Machu Picchu. This is our goal, to complete the hike one afternoon before visiting Machu Picchu the next day. To get to the trailhead for the hike to Aguas Calientes, we had to take vans through a canyon over rough dirt roads to a place called Hydroelectric. This is a small train station where the road ends and the trail to Aguas Calientes begins. Train service is limited, maybe 1 or 2 trips a day, and subject to eruptions for the most anemic reasons. This route is all about a beautiful, easy, half-day hike. But first, we chowed down at a small restaurant before we headed off to follow the train tracks to our final destination, which would be our hotel in the village of Aguas Calientes. Although the skies were overcast, we weren't expecting a lot of rain. So off we marched, breaking up into smaller groups. We got a few sprinkles early in the hike, but it wasn't really enough to impact our progress. At about 30 to 40 minutes into the hike, though, several small groups of hikers started coming at us from the opposite direction. That is never a good sign. They were excitedly describing how a mudslide had just wiped out a footbridge that all hikers needed to cross to get to the village. I was sweeper at the back of our group, and so our small entourage of 7 to 8 people had no choice but to continue towards the mudslide to check out the well-being of the front hikers in our group. There was no way we were going to turn around without knowing what happened to the other members of our group. That's good.
Good for you.
Good for you. We were praying all the way. We had no idea what to expect. Would we be separated from members of our group who had made it to the other side of the slide? Would members be lost, injured? We had no idea, so we continued hiking and praying. It took longer than we thought to reach the muddy debris field. After 20 to 30 minutes, we came upon the disaster. Aside from the obvious massive disturbance to the terrain, the first thing I noticed was the aroma of fresh earth. It's the kind of smell that I had never detected before, but the musky, acrid scent was unmistakable and memorable. At the time the mudslide occurred, there had been a team of workers from the town who were doing maintenance and repairs from previous slides. They were equipped with a bulldozer, small tools, and hard hats. Their group was separated by the mudslide. I found it interesting that the men who were stranded on our side of the broken bridge just accepted their fate and decided to walk back to the hydroelectric station. Vidal's first priority was to confirm that everybody in the group was safe and we were all on the same side of the break in the terrain. He found a place near the debris field where he told us to wait and told us not to advance into the area of destruction. The size of the mudslide was bigger than a soccer field and extended up into the side of the mountain. That's massive.
It's huge.
There were entire trees and boulders that landed where they landed, and stayed there, at least for now. Walking across the debris was treacherous since the site was wet and soggy, and if you stepped in the wrong spot, it would suck your shoes right off your feet. Vidal started looking for a way to cross the fast-moving, deep-cut tributary that was now blocking our way. We needed to cross the tributary, then find the railroad tracks next to the river and follow them into the backside of the village. While he was searching, a small group of police officers and officials from the village arrived as close as they could get by train. They surveyed the damage, and I'm guessing they were also checking for injuries, or perhaps even bodies, or maybe even missing persons. A few of the men in our group and Vidal went up and down the tributary looking for a way to cross over the other side so we could continue our hike to the village. Because the work crew had walkie-talkies, Vidal was able to communicate with the police on the other side. Vidal was the only local tour guide, so a couple of other small groups started hanging out with us to see if we could come up with a plan to get to the village on foot. The situation took an unexpected turn, and Vidal was told by the police not to build a bridge or attempt to cross the rushing tributary, or he would be arrested.
Whoa.
Okay. I was amazed that the police did not offer any assistance or instructions other than to walk back from the direction we'd come. This was not an option for us because of the complicated logistics. Even if we had hiked back to the hydroelectric station, we would still need to find transport for our large group to get to the village, where we would need them to find hotels. Then we would need to drive back over the high mountain pass to the Sacred Valley and the village of, oh boy, Alante Tambo, where we could catch the train for a 2-hour ride to Aguas Calientes, if we could find tickets. With a group this size, it was not likely that we would find transport or hotels, let alone tickets on the train at the last minute. So we decided to build a bridge, good for you, and continue our hike to the village. In order to convince the police that we were not going to build a bridge, but all gathered us in a circle and explained that we were going to pretend to walk away so that the police could see us leaving. And then when we reached a point where we could drop below the horizon, we would duck down into a sunken area in the debris field. We would wait for the police to leave. Then we would begin building the bridge. So everyone started walking through the debris back to the trail we came in on. As we crossed the debris field, we encountered a sunken spot, and at that time, Vidal gave us the signal, and we all sat down on the damp, sloppy ground and waited. While we were waiting, we decided to go through our backpacks and figure out how much water, food, flashlights, and batteries were on hand since it was late afternoon and it would probably be dark by 6 p.m. Shortly after we sat down, we heard the train toot, which was our signal that the police were heading back to the village. This was our cue to begin the bridge building project. The first step was to break into small groups. While Vidal surveyed the tributary to find a spot for building the bridge, teams of men and teenage boys went looking for good-sized trees, of which there were plenty.
I just want to know how many people they acquired. Like, was there like 30 people there?
It sounds like it was like quite the party. The women stayed with the younger children and kept them busy by telling stories, singing, and comforting those who needed it. Let me point out that we were all in agreement that this was the best plan for us. We noticed other hikers heading back towards the hydroelectric station, though. It took over an hour, and those of us who were hanging out with the kids could not monitor the progress of the bridge builders. So we entertained ourselves and watched the sunset. Eventually, one of the teen boys came over and told us it was time. In the dim light, we made our way over to the makeshift bridge. The best way to describe this bridge is that it was an Inca bridge, not a gringo bridge. What does that even mean?
I feel like this is like a PCT bridge.
I know. In other words, it was not a flat level platform to walk across. It was a single log crossing the chasm, and just below the single log on either side were 2 logs positioned about 1.5 feet higher. That sounds just like a PCT bridge.
Sounds just like the PCT.
One at a time, each person would center their feet one behind the other on the single log in the middle and bend over to grab the 2 logs on the side. As long as you could keep your feet centered on the single log, you could balance yourself with your hand and walk across. Several men and teenage boys went over first so that they could assist others. Vidal piggybacked the youngest child, age 6, whose father whispered to Vidal, "I'm trusting you with my kid." No pressure at all, right? No one was allowed to wear a backpack or loose clothing or carry anything in their hands. No phones, no cameras, and nothing that was dangling or could affect your balance. Backpacks and jackets were piled in the silt, and one at a time, we went. Each crossing took just a few seconds, maybe like 10 or 20 seconds to get positioned and stable, and then to begin the solo walk on the single log. With 30 people.
Okay, it is 30 people. I was right.
Yeah. With 30 people, this took about an hour to get everyone over. Then Vidal ferried our gear over in multiple trips. By now it was pitch dark, and we all waited for each other because the next phase of our journey was unpredictable. We had to descend through the debris field in the dark to get down closer to the river where we would find the trail that would lead us down to the village. With flashlights, headlamps, and phone lights, we slowly crawled under trees and scrambled over boulders, helping each other along the way. Teenage boys who once may have been prone to goofing off became men that day. And many times, I reached out to grab something stable to hold on to during my scramble, and I felt a hand reach out from the shadows to help me. This is how it was until we finally reached the trail. Good job, teenagers. The front hikers scouted a route and assisted the rest of us through the debris. There was no path. Progress was slow. We climbed up and over and crawled and ducked under debris for at least an hour. That sounds just like the PCT.
I mean, I feel like I'm on the PCT right now.
We helped each other by shining our lights and saying encouraging things. Finally, we came to the trail by the river, though. By now, many flashlights were dead, and people who had lights were sharing so that others could follow the path. We were still not close to the village and had at least another hour of hiking on the flat trail in the darkness. Everyone was in good spirits, although we had one teenage girl who had bruised her ankle. Otherwise, we were unscathed by our ordeal. That's saying a lot. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
On the way to the village, the trail led us into the backyard of the train track operations area. This was not part of the village. This was where trains were stored and maintained. I was in the very last group of 6 to 7 or so people. We'd all walked alone in front of us. At that time, I didn't realize how important that was. Perhaps he did it intentionally? But as our group paraded by the closed train offices, 2 police officers standing under an outdoor light stopped us and asked if any local people helped us. Of course, we said no. Then they asked us...
We're a bunch of gringos. We don't know any better.
Then they asked us how we were able to cross the tributary when the bridge was washed out. One of the gentlemen in our group replied that we had crossed the tributary on the wings of a condor. Wow. Everyone chuckled, and we continued walking into the quiet village. It was close to 11 p.m. by the time we got into our hotel. The next morning, after a hearty breakfast, everyone boarded the shuttle bus with mud on their boots and entered Machu Picchu right on time.
Wow.
Okay,
I have a couple questions, though.
Yeah.
If they listen to this episode, did they reunite with the rest of their group? I'm assuming they did.
What do you mean?
Well, because remember they were split from their group. Like some of their group was ahead and they didn't know if they'd gotten past the landslide or if they had gotten stuck in it. But they never come back and say if they actually reunited with those people.
I feel like they did reunite with them because it sounds like everybody got to Machu Picchu on time.
Well, I'm assuming they reunited, but they never said it.
Yeah.
So my question became did they reunite with them at the landslide, or did they reunite with them at the village after, in a hotel?
That's a good question.
So that's one of my questions. My other question is, I want to envision this landslide and the bridge they built. Like, were they above ground when they were walking on this, or was it on the mud as they were walking on it in hopes that they didn't fall into the mud and then like sink in and get stuck?
I think I'm going to have to reach out and see if they have any photos.
Yeah.
Because I really want to see this now.
I know. And I want to know like the bridge. I really want to envision the bridge in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think it's safe that they crossed over a giant mudslide? Because mud is a bit more treacherous depending on how wet it is than just like a river crossing.
I think they got really lucky. I don't know. Because having 30 people all together, that is like a recipe for someone to potentially get injured pretty intensely. But I don't know enough about mudslides to know what I don't know enough about mudslides. So
we don't really have a lot of mudslides here in Colorado.
we kind of do though. We do once the mud season hits after the snow.
We do, but it's usually in the canyons and it's typically along like I-70.
Yes, and they shut it down when it happens.
Yeah, which is a pain in the butt. But I think, other than taking the risk of crossing the mudslide, they did everything like really well.
They did, yes.
They built the bridge and they put like the extra 2 poles on either side of the single central pole
to help
just in
people
case as like a safeguard.
balance. Yeah, which is
And
awesome.
they wouldn't let anyone like have anything in their hands. They took all their packs and loose clothing off. So, and then they shuttled it back across for the people.
Which I do think that right there, that aspect of they were thinking, how do we be as safe as possible in this process?
Yeah.
They thought through all the steps of being safe, and that's amazing. And that's probably why no one did get injured.
Yeah. I think that the cops at the end were, they could have been a little bit more aggressive about the questioning, but it sounds like everybody survived that.
Well, I guess because nothing happened. So they're like, all right, what can we do to these people? We can't do anything to them. But I think it's funny because they would have arrested them. And on the PCT, you just have to do it.
We didn't have 3 logs. We would have 1.
Yeah. I mean, and we never had a mudslide that we had to deal with, but we definitely had some very sketchy moments where we're like, oh God, I guess we have to cross this.
I know.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was a cool story.
That's a very different type of story than we typically tell.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jackie and Vidal, for sharing that. That was awesome.
Yeah. That was a really like in-depth write-up too. Like, thank you. That took some time. So we appreciate that.
And I really want to check out this Adios Adventure Travel. And I'm curious, I'm assuming they still do Machu Picchu tours.
I would love to do Machu Picchu.
That's on our list for sure. So
we just have to get our vaccines.
Yep.
That's all we have to do.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jackie and Vidal, for sending that in. We really appreciate it. Giveaway alert. When you're 15 miles into your day and your climb is just getting started, every ounce matters. You need gear that is just as strong as you are without the extra weight. Aardwolf Gear Company crafts intuitive, ultralight accessories for the outdoor enthusiast in you. Using creative design principles and Dyneema composite fabric, they hand make accessories that are durable, waterproof, and designed to withstand the elements you choose. All of their products are cottage made in Flagstaff, Arizona, just a mile from the AZT. From spoon covers to waterproof food bags, Aardwolf gear is made by backpackers for everyone. When Basecamp and I hiked the Arizona Trail in November of last year, we not only cozied our spoons with a little slip cover, but we also put our full-size toothbrushes, not the sawed-off ones, into their little color-coded sleeves so we could tell them apart. We also stuffed our electronics into a waterproof ditty bag and stored our food in a roll-top sack that we knew would keep our food protected from winter condensation without breaking our backs. Every single bit of it was Aardwolf gear. If you go to aardwolfgear.com and plug in the code YETI15, that is YETI15, you can get 15% off of your entire order at checkout. And as a way of saying thank you to the beautiful world that inspires their work through Earth Day, which is April 22nd, Aardwolf Gear will be donating 10% of all profits from their new green-colored items to Conservation Legacy. That's a nonprofit organization working to support the next generation of conservation leaders. If you'd like to try out one of their trowel bags, you can snag one free of charge if you're the first person to shoot an email over to yetiwalksintobasecamp@gmail.com with a story. We want to know what the heaviest backpack is that you have ever carried out into the natures. Be the first to send us that story, and we'll reach out to you via email to get you that free trowel bag from Aardwolf Gear. Thank you, Aardwolf, for sponsoring this podcast and this episode.
So this is Sarah Bolin, and it's titled A Wild Ride on the Wonderland Trail and How an Expired EpiPen Saved My Life.
Expired?
Expired.
Let's see.
Here we go. In 2018, I embarked on the Wonderland Trail with 3 friends for 9 days around Mount Rainier's backcountry. By day 6, we hit an old car campground, long closed by a flood, and now a haven for backcountry hikers. With picnic tables and a remote setting, it seemed perfect. But on the trail back to the river with my friend to filter water for the night, brushing past the overgrown path, I felt a searing sting on my thigh. It hurt, but I figured it was a wasp and moved on. But soon after, something was wrong. My face felt swollen, like I'd been crying for hours. Alarm bells went off in my head at this point. I had no known allergies, but I knew facial swelling after a sting could signal something serious, especially since I was stung nowhere near my face. I stayed calm, returned to camp, and told my friends, I think I'm having an allergic reaction. We scrambled for Benadryl, and I took 6 or 7 tablets, but it got worse. Holy shit, 6 or 7 tablets.
Wouldn't that like knock you out?
I would imagine. Okay. I had a spot device, which, just to explain for any of you, this is like a Garmin device, but a different type. It's an SOS. I had a spot device and we made the call after discussing as a group, hit SOS. So torn, I thought, what if this is nothing, but what if it's bad? In a twist, 3 weeks earlier, my cousin insisted I take her expired EpiPen. Her husband has a severe allergy to yellow jackets, and she restocks her stash with non-expired EpiPens annually. She has a belief that every adult should have one accessible to them, since severe allergies can seem to pop up out of nowhere. I didn't think I'd ever need it, but I decided to throw it in my emergency medical kit for backcountry trips. And as the swelling in my face was worsening, one of the friends I was hiking with went around to other campers and found an ER doctor camping nearby. He came over to evaluate me and told me, if your tongue or throat swells, use the EpiPen. 10 minutes later, my tongue started to feel like it was swelling. Nervous but determined, I read the instructions and my friend jabbed me with the EpiPen in my thigh. It worked. The swelling reversed, though I shook uncontrollably from the epinephrine in the medication for hours afterward, even needing to be physically escorted to use the bathroom because of it. By 10:30 p.m., rangers arrived on ATVs in response to my SOS call, which was more than 4 hours earlier. And after evaluating me and speaking via radio to a physician at a local hospital, they told me I needed to be seen, but I would live through the night at this point, thanks to me having been prepared with an EpiPen. At this point, having taken all those Benadryl hours earlier, I begged to stay the night. They agreed, but insisted I hike out in the morning. At dawn, the swelling returned. I learned later that a latent round of swelling can occur, but it typically doesn't manifest as a full-blown anaphylaxis, thankfully. No EpiPen left. I was resolved to leave my friends. I hiked 5 miles alone, where a ranger picked me up and took me to the closest ranger station in a little visited area of the park. I called my worried parents and Brett, who is her husband now, and explained what had happened. To my surprise, they had been notified the night before my emergency services about the call placed on my device, but couldn't tell them any details. They were worried sick. That would totally freak me out if I got a call and you were out in the backcountry and it's like, oh, we got an SOS call from Wesley Black. It's like, oh God.
It's like the end of the world.
I would be literally pacing all night.
Oh yeah.
Just as I was finishing up my phone call with Brett, a couple arrived at the ranger station lost and looking for directions to get to the area of the park that I wanted to get to. I knew this was my shot, so I hung up with Brett, promising to call him back, and asked the couple for a hitch. They drove me 3 hours back to my friend's car. Later, 3 hours. 3 hours, y'all. That's a lot for a hitch. Later, I took them to dinner in Seattle to thank them. That was really sweet. In the end, it was the most dramatic trail experience I've ever had, but I am grateful for it. They say you don't know how you'll personally react in a life-threatening situation until you're in one, and now I know that I can count on myself to be calm, rational, and focused, and man, am I grateful to know that about myself. I also learned that Garmin InReach is where it's at. It might be expensive, but hot damn, would it have saved me, the emergency responders, and my parents a boatload of worry if I had been able to communicate my status during all of this. When the emergency responders showed up, they shoved a teddy bear in my arms and said, "We weren't sure if your call was fake, if you were already dead, or what." And that next week, I threw my spot device in the trash and upgraded to the Garmin and haven't looked back since. Girl, I would have sold that spot on eBay.
I want to know what's up with the teddy bear.
Yeah, me too.
Is that just like a comfort thing or?
Well, I love that the emergency responders showed up with a teddy bear. Like, oh, we do this often. Here's a teddy bear.
You'll need this.
I also now carry at least 3 EpiPens with me since after a first experience with anaphylaxis, time to airway closure has a half-life that gets shorter and shorter with each successive sting experience. Don't I know this too? When I picked up my friends after they finished the last 3 days of the hike, they told me that later that same day I departed from them, they ran into a note in a tree that said yellow jacket nest ahead. 2 out of 3 of them were stung in the course of trying to make it around the nest. And I know that had I been one of them, I would have died from the sting since I didn't have another EpiPen on me. Alas, learnings all around. Definitely my wildest experience on trail. Wouldn't recommend learning about a severe allergy while on a backpacking trip, that's for sure. With a stick out tongue emoji.
That's scary.
I've had an anaphylactic shock, and I was not in the middle of the woods or a backpacking trip. I was able to be ushered to the hospital, and it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
I mean, you don't know when you're going to get stung out there. So I guess it's always safe to be, more prepared than not. So 3 EpiPens is definitely the way to go. I mean, shoot, if it was me, I might carry like 5.
I mean, the question is, should we all just carry an EpiPen?
At least go and get an allergy test before.
Those are expensive.
What am I saying? I'm not going to go do that.
No.
I'm not allergic to anything.
That I know of.
That I know of.
That
But
you know of.
if you know you're allergic.
Until you get stung by a yellow jacket.
Definitely a good idea to have something like this with you.
Have you ever been stung by a yellow jacket?
I've been stung by yellow jackets, bees, wasps, never a hornet. And it hurts like hell, but I've never had an allergic reaction.
Well, that's good.
You, on the other hand, if someone were
Man.
hiking in the woods and threw shellfish in your mouth, you would be screwed.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have an anaphylactic shock. I would just have hives break out. But I have had anaphylactic shocks in the past. It was a long time ago.
Was that from the meat?
They don't know. I am a special case.
You are a special case in most things in life.
But yeah, I went to an allergist specialist, and she wanted to do a study on me, a case study, because she was so confused by
You should have let her. You should have been like, if you
pay me,
if the price is right.
She literally looked at me. This was back when I was 20. I was like 19 or 20. It was a long time ago. And she looked at me and she said, "You can never travel overseas."
What?
Yeah. She was like, "You need to have an EpiPen at you at all times," because I didn't know what it was. And it would just hit at random times. And she said I needed to keep an EpiPen, and I could not travel overseas because if I didn't have a hospital close, I would die.
She's talking about third world countries is what she's talking about. You can go to Europe. I mean,
I know.
There's infrastructure all over the place.
I don't know. She tried to scare me. But the other thing that's interesting about this is that after you inject an EpiPen in you, this was what I was instructed, is that you have to go to a hospital afterwards because your heart, it does something to your heart when you inject an EpiPen.
Well, I mean, you saw what she said. She was shaking for hours.
Yeah. Then that's like, she could have died just from the reaction to an EpiPen. And thank goodness she didn't. But that's what, like, you're supposed to go directly to, you're supposed to call 911 after you inject an EpiPen into your body.
I wonder if it's a good call to have like a couple ounces of whiskey with you just in case they calm you back
Settle
down.
your heart rate.
I mean, maybe.
We should look and see what an EpiPen does to your body. Like what exactly, I know it has something to do with your heart.
Well, we're glad you're alive, Sarah.
Glad you're alive. Now I'm glad that you take EpiPens everywhere with you, especially for other people too that may have a random reaction.
Yeah. I mean, you're a walking like pharmaceutical company right now.
I know.
Walking pharmacy.
Better than we are.
Good for you.
Yeah.
As long as Basecamp and I can remember, we have carried Sawyer products with us. Specifically, we are huge fans of the Sawyer Squeeze, which has been our go-to water filtration system since we've been backpacking. We always rely on it in the backcountry, and we do take a little bit of a redundancy with us on occasion. We'll take a water chemical treatment as well. It's a great idea to have a backup. What we want to say is that Sawyer has always been there. It's always given us peace of mind when we knew that we had water coming up, even if it might be a little bit sketchy, especially from some of those cow ponds out in the Arizona trail. So we just want to fully endorse Sawyer, tell you to go and check out some of the stuff that they have to offer. You can get the Sawyer Squeeze. You can get some mini versions if you want to shave off a little bit of weight from your backpack. They also have treatment for your gear that you can use to try and keep the bugs at bay whenever summer and spring are in full swing. And they have some pretty cool looking swag if you go and check out their website. Right now, through Yeti Walks into Basecamp, they're offering a 20% discount to anyone listening. So go and check out their website, and at checkout, just plug in the code Yeti Basecamp. That is YETI BASECAMP at checkout to get 20% off of your entire purchase at Sawyer. Thank you so much, Sawyer, for sponsoring this podcast and this episode. We've got another story here from Sarah. Also, Sarah, it's really good to hear that you are calm in the face of death, because I'm sure death is scary.
Yeah, it is.
Another story here from Sarah says, "See below for our honeymoon hiking water scare." I love that you hiked on your honeymoon. 5 days before Brett and I got married in Marfa, we prepped for our honeymoon backpacking the Outer Mountain Loop. This is a backcountry trip that requires water to be cached because there's no year-round water sources on the trek. We had no time for water drops since we were going to hit the trail the morning after our wedding. So, wedding dress in tow, we drove 12 miles of backcountry road to stash water at a bear box inside Big Bend National Park, which is in Texas, after making the drive that morning from Austin. 7 whole days before we'd be back to pick it up on our hike. Except we dropped it at the wrong box.
Oh, no.
What we wouldn't find out until later is that there were bear boxes specifically for caching water about a quarter mile, about 0.25 miles further down the road at the trail junction we'd be crossing. But we accidentally stored our water in the last campsite bear box on that road instead.
Oh, crap.
Fast forward, after the wedding, we started our hike and mused about what we would do if we ended up arriving at the campsite to find no water left. As we crossed the trail junction and made a turn towards the camp where we had left our water, we ran into a camper who had booked that site. We asked right away if she had seen our water in the back of their bear box, and she said no. Panic? We walked with her back to their site to be sure. We opened the bear box. Our water was still there, just buried deep in the back where she hadn't looked yet. Thank goodness, too, because our backup plan was to walk the backcountry road towards the highway with zero water, hoping for a hitch back to our car on the other side of the park, or to ask this nice couple at that very campsite to give us a ride. Anyway, crisis averted, and we had a blissful honeymoon hike. Lesson: always double check your cache spots. But also, not many people leave caches for themselves anyways. So I'm glad that it was there, because that could have been a very scary and sucky situation. Or you could have just asked the person for the water.
Man, not having water when you're backpacking for days
it's hard.
Is a little scary. I mean, I definitely had some freak out moments on the AZT when we didn't have water.
Yeah. Also, do you know where Marfa is? Is that in Texas?
It's clearly got to be in Texas.
Marfa. It sounds like
I don't know.
Martha.
We should ask
Martha.
them.
Well, glad that you
We're glad you're alive.
And also kudos for doing a backpacking trip on your honeymoon.
Man, I don't know. I wouldn't have done that though.
No, our honeymoon was dedicated to
sex.
Let's get it on. But also eating and having good drinks and all that.
Yeah. And that was, it was great. But we did a ton of day hikes and we did snowshoeing too.
I feel like we don't eat that well whenever we're on trail unless we're taking like dehydrated meals. I don't know, which is ironic because Sarah is the founder with her husband of Bowl and Kettle, which we released an episode about this 2 numbered episodes ago.
Shameless plug. Go check it out.
Go check it out.
Amazing. And we found out that we all did the PCT the same year. It was so weird.
Isn't that crazy?
And also we both got married on the same day, the same year.
Same exact day.
Same year too.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was November 14th, 2020.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we all talk about that.
COVID couples.
Backpacking, that would have been a great time to backpack actually.
It would have. Except you would have had a hard time getting a hitch. And not all of the facilities may have been open. So it would have been just like you were hiking in the winter, just like it is when we're going.
But we hadn't really done a lot of backpacking like that yet.
No.
True.
No.
Like the PCT was really our first big fish.
We'd done some cute ones on the AT and like.
Yeah, we done some like 3 days.
Our Mount Rainier.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was intense.
That was intense. That's the most intense thing we had done other than ultra running.
I think that's the most intense thing we've ever done.
Even the Sierras on the PCT.
We're not as scary as
in the thaw.
Mount Rainier.
Yeah, they were not as scary.
It prepared us for the PCT, I feel like. Because as we were doing the PCT, I was like, this is nothing like Mount Rainier.
I know. Everything else has just been like chump change.
Yeah.
It's like when you date a really shitty person at the bottom of the barrel, everybody else is just an upgrade.
My God. That's where you're going.
That's where I went with that. Well, we're talking about marriage, right?
What are you saying? That I was just an easy picking? I'm in the middle of the road?
No, you're the best upgrade I've gotten.
Okay. Good answer. Good answer.
Like that?
But is it because you dated such shitty people?
Yes.
Oh my God. No.
Giveaway alert.
It's cold outside. And you know what I love?
Being warm?
I love being warm.
Yes, you do. You know what else I love and I know you love too? not having a backbreaking load of weight on your back. And you know how you get that?
You know what helps that?
Leve Outdoors.
Because they have a very lightweight, I call them mid layers, that if it's super cold outside, I will mid layer it with my puffy. And Cameron, who actually runs the company and his family, does these epic alpha hoodies. He has a 60, a 90, and a 120. And so all of them are for different types of terrain, weather, and temperatures.
And he also does beanies. He does a hiking sun shirt now. And he's got a super ultra hyper lightweight jacket, which you should go and check out.
Amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have a discount code for them. And so if you go to Leve Outdoors website, you get a discount code of
10% if you plug in Yeti Walks into Basecamp, all one word, at checkout. Cameron does have a lot of promotions internally as well. So the promos don't stack. So definitely use the one that's going to get you the most discount. But you always have this one to fall back on.
And if you are able to, if there's any comment section or anywhere inside of your shipping order, if you can just let him know that Yeti Legs and Basecamp sent you, we would be greatly appreciative.
To that, we are giving away a little care package from Cameron. Thank you, Cameron, for sponsoring this podcast and our episode. We want to hear what your most interesting animal or wildlife encounter is when on a trail. So shoot us an email with that. If you're the first person to email us that story, you'll be a care package winner, and we will coordinate with you via email, get you the right sizes and everything for that care package.
Azul. If you guys don't know Azul, we thru hiked on and off the PCT with her.
Yeah, we named her.
We named her.
We sure
you
did.
named her.
Yeah.
So this is her Azul heavy pack story. What is the heaviest pack I've ever backpacked with? Well, I'm not too sure. I've been backpacking for a long time. The majority of that time was with gear I got in the early 90s. Definitely not lightweight. Since I don't really remember details of those trips, though, I'll skip to more recent history. When I think of heavy packs, I think of my early days on the PCT.
Preach.
We all do, don't we?
Uh-huh.
I was rusty. I hadn't backpacked much in the previous decade, and I wasn't dialed in on desert backpacking and my water needs. I knew water sources could be far apart. I knew I'd be moving slowly at first, and I really didn't want to run dry. So what did I do? I carried my fears and overcompensated, of course. I routinely carried 4+ liters of water. Holy shit, that's impressive.
That's a lot of water.
Sometimes 6. Oh my gosh.
Look.
Oh, that's over 13 pounds of water alone. I told myself I was being smart, responsible, and prepared, when in reality, I was carrying my uncertainty. It took me too long to realize I didn't need nearly that much water. The extra weight slowed me down, wore me out, and stressed my body more than it helped. Experience eventually taught me how much I actually needed, how my body handled the heat, and when extra water was truly necessary. I'm so glad I now know my water needs, and I'm not hauling around all that extra weight.
Boy, if y'all don't know, a liter of water is 2.1 pounds.
That's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of
I always
weight.
get so angry when we have to do water carries, because then I'm just like, this is so dumb, because it's like extra weight that's just feels so unnecessary, but it's not unnecessary. It's necessary.
It's necessary in those dry, hot stretches like that.
And it's necessary when, you really need, like, great example if you're dry camping. And it typically, I feel like whenever we're dry camping, it's always climbing up a damn mountain.
Dry camping's tough.
So we're like carrying 3 liters a piece, and that's over 6 pounds. That's 6.6 pounds. And so, and we're of course climbing up a mountain when we do it. So
yes, it's not fun, but you live and you learn. And whenever we started the PCT, just like you did, Azul, our packs, I swear to God, mine must have been 50 pounds, like easy without water.
Mine was definitely 40, 45 for sure.
Did we have our bear cans in there with us at that time?
Not yet.
But we had our -40 like sleeping bags, and we had all this other crap. And eventually we tossed it. The Jolly Gear motto is where fun meets functional. And the owner, Jolly, truly wears that motto on his sleeve. Blending the comfort of a button-down with the sun protection of a sun shirt, Jolly Gear creates tops and dresses from an 84% polyester, 16% spandex blend that dries quickly and offers antimicrobial properties. With color patterns like disco leopard, kaleidoscope, pool party, and trail madness, you can expect only the most epic of double takes when walking by hikers on a trail with your jolly gear on. When we hiked the PCT in 2022, we made it to Bernie Falls only to have our sun shirts literally dissolving on our bodies. We reached out to Jolly Gear and he, free of charge, expedited 2 matching Casa orange sun shirts to us in Redding, California. We finished the trail in those shirts and still have them to this day. Marie especially loved the ponytail hole in the back of the hood that allowed for sun protection without discomfort when she wanted to stick a bun or a ponytail through it. You can snag 15% off of your order at jollygear.com by using the code YETI at checkout. That's YETI at checkout to get 15% off of your entire purchase at jollygear.com. Crafted by a thru hiker for anyone who loves to go for a walk outside, check out jollygear.com to outfit your next hike with some high personality sun protection where fun meets functional. Thank you, Jolly, for sponsoring this episode and this podcast.
Did we take our hiking boots from the beginning too?
Yes, I had the hiking boots with me from the beginning because I was like, well, I don't want to ship them to Idlewild.
Because we were given advice.
Yes, we were given advice. But you know what? You live and you learn. And now we would not approach the PCT the same way that we did the first time.
No, I'd be wearing my ultras the whole way through, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
I still would take our crampons though through the Sierra Nevadas.
Oh, definitely. I would not go through the Sierra Nevadas in the winter with micro spikes.
No.
I'm glad that we had the Catula hiking crampons.
Yes, I would still do that.
Yep. That is one thing I do not regret.
Okay. Next one. These are our editors, you guys. They sent us in some of their coldest experiences, and so we want to read some of them.
Yeah, we've gotten stories from our editors and from like the Azul story, the heaviest backpack. We ask for these stories sometimes to do like giveaways for our listeners. So if you're ever listening to an episode and we say, hey, send us a story about this to get free stuff, that's kind of what we're looking for. So now you have a good grid.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is The Coldest She's Ever Been by Charlotte. Let's see. The coldest I've ever been while camping was when I went camping with my girlfriend, now wife, Hannah, at the Oregon coast in Pacific City. To set the scene, we were out there for a friend's wedding at the end of September, so even with no rain in the forecast, the nights were starting to get cold. After celebrating all day, Hannah and I continued the celebration at our campsite that night. I'm guessing she means drinking? Yep. Oh, yep, definitely. By downing a 6-pack of Tallboy Coors Lights. We got our Walmart Coleman tent set up as dusk was turning into night. Being the inexperienced camper I was, we didn't have any sleeping bags. What? Girl, you crazy. We were using 2 thick comforters, 3 blankets, and our pillows from our home. It was a cute setup.
I mean, sometimes comforters and blankets might be more...
Yeah.
Might be warmer than a sleeping bag.
You're sharing body heat
Yeah.
with that setup. So
100%.
Totally get that. It started to get chilly, so we wanted to get the fire going. We grabbed the firewood that we bought from a stand on the side of the road earlier that day and our mini hatchet that we got from Walmart. This hatchet was standing 0 chance against the bundle of wood, though. It was not cutting any of it. Luckily, a kind soul saw that we had been struggling for about 15 minutes trying to cut up our wood, and he offered to lend us his axe. Good people. From there, the rest of the night was great. We were riding high on Coors and warmth from the fire. We went to bed in our cold blankets, but tried to bundle and cuddle up for warmth, and we drifted off into a peaceful slumber while listening to the ocean waves. I bet that's a lovely scene.
I mean, it sounds very peaceful. I love it.
This peaceful slumber was rudely disturbed at about 4 a.m. when I felt a drip on my forehead. As I stirred awake, I noticed that our blankets were soaked, and I was freezing. It was pouring outside, and even with a rainfly on our sure-to-be-great quality Walmart tent, most likely a Coleman, the roof was starting to cave in from the weight of the rain. Shivering and still coming to, I stirred Hannah, who was still drunk from the beer earlier in the night, awake. Freezing and sopping wet, we hurried to shove the blankets, pillows, and comforters in the back of the Volkswagen Bug. V-dub. We dug through our rain-soaked backpacks to find clothes that were remotely dry to change into. The drunken escapades from the night before started catching up to Hannah, and she started to get sick. While she went off to throw up, and without taking the time to pack it back into its bag, I shoved our still-soaked tent into the back of the car and got the heater going to get our body temperatures back up. Definitely a fun story to look back on and quite the learning experience. Attached is a photo that we took in the bathroom during the whole debacle. and they look absolutely sopping
Soaked.
wet. But Hannah looks really happy. You know, that chorus really did a
did a number.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, at least you had a pit toilet and a car.
A car.
Like, that's
Can you imagine
huge.
if you got soaked in the middle of nowhere?
I mean, you just start walking at that point.
You do
to
start
try and
walking.
stay warm is what you do, or build a fire if you can find a dry spot to build it.
But if it's raining, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, you just start walking at that point. Pack it up, wait for the sun to come out the next day, and dry everything out.
Or if you've got like 15 hand warmers with you, you could just crack them all open. And
I don't think so though, because you're just so soaking wet. If it's still raining.
well, yeah, but that would be like supplemental to the warmth.
Yep.
Stick one under each armpit, under the backs of your knees and the crotch.
If you just happen to have 15 hand warmers,
That's
if you're
like
out
3 pounds of
backpacking.
hand warmer.
Never happens.
Never ever.
Oh.
I'm going to read off a few menu items here. Let's see how they sound. Crawfish etouffee, chicken tikka masala, and Mexican street corn grits. That sounds like the specials for a restaurant you would expect to find in the South, right? Believe it or not, these are actually backpacking meals that you can eat out in the middle of nowhere on the dirt with an epic sunset backlighting the mountains. Sarah and Brett Bolin, founders of Bowl and Kettle, wanted to do just that. Feast on amazing meals when camping out in the middle of friggin' nowhere. So they decided to create their own freeze-dried, not dehydrated, backpacking meals with first ingredients like butter, marinated chicken breast, whole milk, and Monterey Jack cheese. Basecamp and I happily carried several Bowl and Kettle meals with us on both the Colorado Trail and the Arizona Trail last year, and we never once regretted carrying a single ounce of those. Sarah and Brett have perfected the 3 meals they currently offer, undoubtedly with more coming in the future, and they want you to try some of the backcountry goodness for yourselves. They've given us a 10% discount code to share with you, our listeners. Head over to bowlandkettle.com, pick out your favorite variety pack, whatever floats your boat, and plug in the code YETICHOW at checkout. That is YETICHOW to get 10% off of your entire order. Thank you, Sarah and Brett, for sponsoring this podcast and this episode.
All right, Steven, coldest stories. Steven,
oh boy,
he's actually one of my cousins as well. His wow, I can't talk. His family and him live in Colorado.
You're fading.
So we get to hang out. You're right, I am.
You are fading.
All right, here's Steven, coldest story. Are you ready, guys? Here we go. Lads and ladies, freezing cold water. Water? Yes, water. More like condensation dripping onto the outer folds of my sleeping bag. I shiver and curl up, rubbing my hands together to keep warm. I think warm thoughts. Think warm thoughts. I recall the time where I had camped in a hammock and a thunderstorm blew through. I had slept through a clap of thunder. Thor would have been proud. I remember coming to my senses and leaping out of the hammock to find cover, but not before being doused with a healthy amount of rain as the storm started. That had been in early July, however. I shiver and shiver some more. This was no July. I think of the Ed Sheeran song Shivers, and it brings me some comfort, but I immediately regret it as I feel ice cold wind blowing across my sleeping bag. I then shiver to the tune of Shivers by Ed Sheeran. A light bulb goes off in my head. Earlier that day, Marie, Basecamp, and Wesley Yeti Legs had given me some of their hand warmers. Yes, that was it. I just needed to... A cold, icy blast rushes through the trees like a freight train, and I curl up just in time to meet the wave. Whoosh. I wait for the gust to pass. I reach a singular hand out of my cocoon sleeping bag and feel around for my pack. Found it. Blind, I reach for the pocket with the hand warmers. There. I reach inside and pull out what feels like hand warming packets. I pull it inside of my sleeping bag, tear open the package, and proceed to shaking it like crazy to activate the warmth. For whatever reason, the top of my head started feeling extremely cold. I took the hand warmer and slipped it into my 7-year-old beanie to warm the top of my head. If only I had a warmer beanie, I thought as I shivered.
Of course, the coldest he's ever been is on a backpacking trip with us.
That we took him on.
You know what? No regrets, right?
I mean, we really tried to set him up for success. We really tried.
I think we did.
We tried.
We did try. Steven, would you ever go out again with us?
Only if he had a -40 sleeping bag.
Only if he had a -40.
Listen, I've been cold before. I know how that feels. It sucks.
It's miserable. You know, folks listening, what had actually happened is for some reason he put off a lot of body heat and it started to condensate on his sleeping bag.
It was a 20-degree bag.
It was a 20-degree sleeping bag.
And
he had a liner.
Which adds another 10. And so he should have been cozy because that night I think it was like 15 degrees. So he should have been fine.
Should have.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
I know. This is the coldest he's ever been, apparently. So
I was with us.
You're welcome. What can I say except you're welcome?
I think we do AJ's.
Let's finish with AJ's.
Yeah.
Let's finish with AJ's. All right. This is our last story, folks. This is from AJ Jones, coldest story. As someone who enjoys backcountry skiing, ice climbing, and the feeling of being deep in the woods in winter where everything is silent except for the falling snow, I've experienced many a cold moment. Funnily,
is funnily even a word?
We're going to use it. Funnily enough, one of the most memorable moments for me was in March in Kentucky.
It can get cold in the South.
If you got some bourbon, I mean, you're good, right? Couldn't have. I was only 19 on my first proper climbing trip. A group of 6 friends and I decided to drive all the way from northern Vermont down to Kentucky, specifically to the Red River Gorge. It was spring break and I was stoked. Not only was this my first proper climbing trip, but it was also going to be my first time leading outside, a pinnacle moment in any climber's career. Before I continue, an important thing to note. On our drive down to Kentucky, I started to feel sick. Headache, chills, sore throat, the works. I thought little of it, downed some cough medicine, and told myself the show must go on. The Red River Gorge is a climbing mecca, well known for its massive sandstone cliffs and rhododendron groves. It is also 15 hours south of snowy Burlington, Vermont, and in my 19-year-old brain, south meant warm. I was almost right. The temperatures during the day were pretty mild, typically in about the mid-40s. But the weather in the Red is well known for being unpredictable, and the first night the temps dropped down to below freezing. I packed everything I thought I'd need: a good long sleeve, a fleece, a wool sweater, my trusty 40-degree slumberjack bag, and a puffy I rented from an outing club's gear room. I guess he was 19. Right? As far as I was concerned, I was a layering master, and I was all set for a cozy night's sleep. My friends and I set up our tent. I downed some more cough medicine, and we all settled in for the evening. To this day, I'm still not sure what made this night so miserable. Perhaps a combination of my oncoming flu symptoms, my probably sweaty base layer, and maybe my 8-year-old sleeping bag on its last legs. All I know is I was freezing, shivering, shaking, making deals with the devil, straight up cold. Everyone around me was asleep, so I lay there and started to brainstorm my plan for surviving the night. I came to the conclusion that I needed to go sleep in the car. You have a car. Good call, though. Good call. After pawing around the tent on all fours, searching for the keys, also glad that you had the keys, I gathered all my warmest belongings and made a beeline for the parking lot. My headlight bobbing, sleeping bag dragging behind me, I finally located our little SUV in the sea of Sprinter vans. I unlocked the door, threw all the seats down, put on every article of clothing I brought, and huddled back into the sleeping bag as fast as I could. The night improved minimally after this. I woke up every hour or so, shaking, shifting my body around in my sleeping bag to generate heat, and falling back to sleep due to pure exhaustion. At no point did my flu-riddled brain think to turn the car on and run the heat.
Poor AJ.
This suffering continued until the morning when the sun rose and began to melt the frost that had gathered on the windows of the car. I woke up and realized that finally I was warm. I also realized I had to poop. That morning consisted of negotiations with myself to find just the right time to unzip my sleeping bag, releasing all of that beautiful heat I'd finally managed to build just so I could run to the bathroom. What I will say is that I waited till I simply could not anymore. As the morning continued, the terrors of the night thawed in the warm Kentucky sun, and I comforted myself with some maple syrup and banana oatmeal. In the end, I slept in the car for the rest of the trip. Luckily, we did not have another night below freezing. I successfully led the first time outside, and I bought a Miguel's Pizza t-shirt to commemorate my experience, as is customary for every climber's first trip to the Red. This might not have been my coldest moment ever, but it was definitely the first time I realized how cold being cold could be. Dang, that sucks. Everything is more miserable whenever you're sick.
I know.
Totally get that, but glad you had a car, because that could have been...
Man.
That could have been a pretty shitty situation, and you could have needed a Garmin.
And all of these things, just to say is that it's I don't want anyone to ever think they can't go out into the backcountry without a car just in case something happens. Because some of these stories, it's great that they had a car for those moments. But also, I think preparing yourself to be out in the backcountry is very important. Making sure you have the right sleeping bag, you have the right gear to be out there and survive a night of freezing temps is really important. And so when you're planning to be out in the backcountry for a few days hiking, just make sure you've got the right sleeping bag. Don't go buy a sleeping bag from Walmart. Like, I know we all like to save money.
Yeah.
But the one place you should never skimp is on
your gear.
On your gear for hiking.
Or you could even go to like a gear outlet or find like decent gear on Facebook Marketplace, but don't get it from Walmart.
Yeah, just make sure you do your research and just make sure you go out there and be safe. That's the biggest key and takeaway. But I love these stories and thank you guys so much for sharing them. They were amazing and so fun to read.
I know. And it was nice to not talk about ourselves, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, we hope y'all enjoyed our first Trail Tells story session or episode or whatever you want to call this. It was a lot of fun and we really appreciated y'all sending that in. It was actually kind of interesting to see how we responded to reading and talking at the same time because I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to our listeners. Thank you to the Fire What's Lost for our intro and our outro music. We really appreciate you. That track is called Appalachian Trail. If you want to send us some stories, you can. Send it to yetiwalksintobasecamp@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you and love to add them to our next Trail Tells episode.
Yeah, and I think that concludes our episode.
Yeah. No matter what trail you're out there doing, even if you have a car in a parking lot or if you're sick to the bone or freezing your ass off or you have really shitty water or you lost your EpiPen, just remember that at the end of the day, we're all just outside walking. Hey everyone, Yeti Legs here. We just wanted to let you know that here at Yeti Walks into Basecamp, we do not use AI for any of our editing, recording, social media, or image generation. Everything is done by hand by our team, and that's how we want it to stay. The use of AI has detrimental effects on our environment, and we want no part of it. So we hope you enjoyed this episode that was hand edited by our team with talent and integrity.